1. What are the key responsibilities of the Florida Real Estate Commission, FREC? A. Setting property prices. B. Licensing and regulating real estate agents. C. Conducting real estate transactions. D. Providing legal advice to property owners. Answer B. Licensing and regulating real estate agents. Explanation. The FREC is responsible for licensing, regulating, and enforcing disciplinary actions against real estate agents in Florida to ensure they adhere to legal and ethical standards. 2. Explain the concept of homestead exemption in Florida real estate. A. Exemption from property taxes. B. Exemption from all state taxes. C. Reduction in property taxes for primary residences. D. Immunity from property-related lawsuits. Answer. C. Reduction in property taxes for primary residences. Explanation. The homestead exemption in Florida provides a reduction in property taxes for the owner's primary residence, reducing the taxable value of the home and consequently the amount of property taxes owed. 3. What is the significance of a market analysis in the sale of a property in Florida? A. Determines rental rates. B. Assesses property condition. C. Evaluates comparable property sales. D. Checks legal compliance. Answer. C. Evaluates comparable property sales. Explanation. A market analysis is significant in property sales as it evaluates comparable property sales to help determine a competitive and fair market price for the property being sold. 4. Scenario. A Florida homeowner discovers an easement on their property that they were unaware of. What legal implications does this have? A. No legal implications. B. Reduced property taxes. C. Possible legal action for non-disclosure. D. Mandatory property sale. Answer. C. Possible legal action for non-disclosure. Explanation. Discovering an undisclosed easement can have legal implications such as a potential claim against the seller for non-disclosure, as easements can affect property value and use. 5. Define title insurance and its importance in real estate transactions in Florida. A. Insurance for property damages. B. Protects against title defects and claims. C. Covers unpaid property taxes. D. Ensures property price stability. Answer. B. Protects against title defects and claims. Explanation. Title insurance is important as it protects buyers and lenders against any title defects, liens, or other claims against the property that might arise after the sale, ensuring clear ownership. 6. What legal protections does the Florida Residential Landlord and Tenant Act provide? A. Tax benefits for landlords. B. Rights and responsibilities of landlords and tenants. C. Construction guidelines for rental properties. D. Fixed rental prices. Answer. B. Rights and responsibilities of landlords and tenants. Explanation. This act outlines the legal rights and responsibilities of both landlords and tenants in Florida, covering aspects like rent, lease agreements, maintenance, and evictions, ensuring fair treatment for both parties. 7. How does Florida law define a broker's associate in real estate? A. An independent contractor. B. A broker's assistant. C. A licensed broker working under another broker. D. A temporary real estate agent. Answer. C. A licensed broker working under another broker. Explanation. A broker's associate in Florida is a licensed real estate broker who chooses to work under the direction and management of another broker rather than operating their own brokerage. 8. In Florida, what constitutes a legally enforceable real estate contract? A. Verbal agreement between buyer and seller. B. Written agreement signed by both parties. C. A handshake deal witnessed by an agent. D. Public listing of the property. Answer. B. Written agreement signed by both parties. Explanation. For a real estate contract to be legally enforceable in Florida, it must be in writing and signed by both the buyer and seller, clearly outlining the terms and conditions of the sale. 9. Explain the process and legal requirements for a deed transfer in Florida. A. Automatic upon property sale. B. Requires only a verbal agreement. C. Must be in writing, signed, and notarized. D. Needs approval from the FREC. Answer. C. Must be in writing, signed, and notarized. Explanation. Deed transfers in Florida require a written document, signed by the grantor and notarized, to legally transfer ownership of the property. This deed must then be recorded with the local county office. 10. Scenario. A property in Florida is sold, but a lion is discovered during the closing process. What are the next steps? A. Ignore the lion as it's the buyer's responsibility. B. Cancel the sale immediately. C. Resolve the lion before completing the sale. D. Transfer the lion to the new owner. Answer. C. Resolve the lion before completing the sale. Explanation. If a lion is discovered during closing, it must be resolved, typically by paying it off, before the sale can be completed to ensure clear title transfer to the new owner. 11. What is the truth in millage? TRIM notice, and what information does it provide? A. Details on property size and boundaries. B. Information on zoning regulations. C. Data on school district performance. D. Information on property tax rates and assessments. Answer. D. Information on property tax rates and assessments. Explanation. The TRIM notice in Florida provides property owners with information about their property tax rates and assessments. It helps them understand how their taxes are calculated and any changes from the previous year. 12. Describe the differences between joint tenancy and tenancy in common in Florida real estate. A. Joint tenancy requires married couples. Tenancy in common does not. B. Only joint tenancy includes the right of survivorship. C. Tenancy in common allows unequal ownership shares. Joint tenancy does not. D, B, and C. Answer. D, B, and C. Explanation. In joint tenancy, co-owners have equal shares and the right of survivorship, meaning upon one owner's death, their share passes to the remaining owners. In tenancy in common, co-owners can have unequal shares, and there is no right of survivorship. 13. Define cap rate in real estate investment and its relevance in Florida. A. A limit on property price increases. B. The ratio of net operating income to property asset value. C. A measure of zoning compliance. D. The maximum interest rate for mortgages. Answer. B. The ratio of net operating income to property asset value. Explanation. Cap rate, or capitalization rate, is a key metric in real estate investment, representing the ratio of a property's net operating income to its current market value. It helps investors assess the return on investment and compare different properties. 14. Scenario. A buyer in Florida backs out of a purchase after discovering undisclosed defects. What are the legal implications? A. The buyer can legally withdraw without penalty. B. The buyer must proceed with the purchase. C. The buyer faces a financial penalty. D. The contract is automatically voided. Answer. A. The buyer can legally withdraw without penalty. Explanation. If a buyer discovers undisclosed defects in a property, they may have the right to legally withdraw from the purchase without penalty, especially if these defects significantly affect the property's value or habitability. 15. What does procuring cause mean in the context of a Florida real estate transaction? A. The reason a property's price is reduced. B. The direct cause leading to a successful transaction. C. A legal reason for contract termination. D. The basis for property tax assessment. Answer: B. The direct cause leading to a successful transaction. Explanation: procuring cause in real estate refers to the actions or efforts by an agent that directly lead to a successful sale or transaction. It is often used to determine which agent is entitled to commission. 16. Explain the concept of adverse possession under Florida law. A. Acquiring a property through prolonged unauthorized occupation. B. A legal claim against a property by a creditor. C. Contesting a will that includes property. D. Government seizure of property for unpaid taxes. Answer: A. Acquiring a property through prolonged unauthorized occupation. Explanation: adverse possession in Florida allows someone to acquire legal ownership of a property if they occupy it openly, notoriously, and continuously for a specific period, usually 7 years, and meet certain conditions like paying property taxes. 17. In Florida, what are the implications of selling a property as is? A. The property cannot be inspected. B. The seller is not responsible for any repairs. C. The buyer has no legal recourse after purchase. D. The property is sold below market value. Answer: B. The seller is not responsible for any repairs. Explanation: selling a property as is in Florida means the seller is not obligated to make any repairs or improvements before the sale. However, they are still required to disclose known defects to the buyer. 18. Scenario: a tenant in Florida breaks their lease early. What are the potential consequences under Florida law? A. Immediate eviction with no legal process. B. Financial penalties or responsibility for remaining rent. C. Mandatory lease extension. D. No consequences for the tenant. Answer: B. Financial penalties or responsibility for remaining rent. Explanation: if a tenant breaks their lease early in Florida, they may face financial consequences, such as penalties or being held responsible for the remaining rent due under the lease, unless they have a legal justification for early termination. 19. How does the Burt J. Harris Jr. Private Property Rights Protection Act affect real estate transactions in Florida? A. It limits property development in urban areas. B. Protects property owners from unfair government regulations. C. Mandates energy efficiency in new constructions. D. Regulates coastal property sales. Answer: B. Protects property owners from unfair government regulations. Explanation: the Burt J. Harris Jr. Private Property Rights Protection Act in Florida provides protections to property owners from inordinate burdens placed on their property by government actions or regulations. 20. What are impact fees in Florida real estate development, and when are they applied? A. Fees for environmental impact assessments. B. Charges on new developments to fund public services. C. Penalties for code violations during construction. D. Taxes on luxury property developments. Answer: B. Charges on new developments to fund public services. Explanation: impact fees in Florida are charges levied on new real estate developments to help fund public services like roads, schools, and parks that the new development will use or impact. 21. What are the legal implications of commingle funds in Florida real estate practices? A. It's considered good business practice. B. Leads to automatic license revocation. C. It's a common method of property management. D. Can result in legal and ethical violations. Answer: D. Can result in legal and ethical violations. Explanation: commingling funds, which involves mixing client funds. 22. Explain due diligence in the context of purchasing real estate in Florida. A. Verifying the legality of the property sale. B. Assessing property value for tax purposes. C. Conducting thorough research and assessment of a property before buying. D. Ensuring the property meets zoning requirements. Answer: C. Conducting thorough research and assessment of a property before buying. Explanation. Due diligence in real estate involves conducting comprehensive research and evaluation of a property before finalizing a purchase, including inspections, title searches, and reviewing any legal or zoning issues. 23. Scenario. A Florida homeowner sells their property and moves out before the closing date. 2 days before closing, a hurricane causes significant damage to the property. Who bears the responsibility for repairs? A. The homeowner, as the damage occurred before closing. B. The buyer, as they agreed to purchase the property. C. The real estate agent handling the sale. D. The insurance company, regardless of the policyholder. Answer. A. The homeowner, as the damage occurred before closing. Explanation. In Florida, the homeowner is generally responsible for any damage that occurs to the property up until the closing date. Therefore, they would be responsible for repairs if the property is damaged by a hurricane before closing. 24. Define line theory as it applies to Florida real estate. A. The practice of placing lines for unpaid property taxes. B. The idea that property acts as security for the repayment of a debt. C. A theory related to property boundary disputes. D. A method for calculating property value. Answer. B. The idea that property acts as security for the repayment of a debt. Explanation. Line theory, as it applies to real estate in Florida, is the principle that a property acts as security for the repayment of a debt, such as a mortgage. The borrower holds the title, and the lender holds a line on the property. 25. What is the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act, and how does it relate to real estate? A. Regulates fair pricing of properties. B. Protects consumers from fraudulent and unfair practices in transactions. C. Governs the advertising of real estate services. D. Manages trade relations between real estate agencies. Answer. B. Protects consumers from fraudulent and unfair practices in transactions. Explanation. The Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act aims to protect consumers, including those in real estate transactions, from deceptive, fraudulent, or unfair practices. It covers a range of consumer transactions and can impact how real estate professionals conduct business. 26. In Florida, what is the difference between exclusive agency listing and exclusive right to sell listing? A. Exclusive agency listings require multiple agents. Exclusive right to sell does not. B. Exclusive right to sell. The agent gets commission regardless of who sells the property. C. Exclusive agency listings are for commercial properties only. D. There is no difference in Florida law. Answer. B. In exclusive right to sell, the agent gets commission regardless of who sells the property. Explanation. The key difference is that with an exclusive right to sell listing, the real estate agent is entitled to a commission regardless of who finds the buyer. In contrast, with an exclusive agency listing, the agent only gets a commission if they find the buyer. 27. Scenario. A real estate broker in Florida receives a commission from both the buyer and seller without disclosing it to both parties. What are the implications of this action? A. It's a standard practice in Florida. B. The broker can be fined. C. Legal and ethical ramifications for failing to disclose. D. The transaction is nullified. Answer. C. Legal and ethical ramifications for failing to disclose. Explanation. If a real estate broker in Florida receives a commission from both parties without proper disclosure, it can lead to legal and ethical ramifications, including conflicts of interest and potential disciplinary actions. 28. Describe the role of title companies in Florida real estate transactions. A. Only to insure the property. B. Handling the closing process and ensuring clear title. C. Setting property prices. D. Mediating disputes between buyers and sellers. Answer. B. handling the closing process and ensuring clear title. Explanation. Title companies in Florida play a crucial role in real estate transactions by handling the closing process, conducting title searches to ensure there are no lines or encumbrances, and providing title insurance to protect against future title issues. 29. What is transfer of development rights? TDAR in Florida real estate, and how is it used? A. Transferring property ownership rights to the state. B. Allowing property owners to sell development rights to another property owner. C. A method to change zoning designations. D. Transferring mortgage rights to another party. Answer. B. Allowing property owners to sell development rights to another property owner. Explanation. TDAR in Florida real estate allows property owners in certain areas to sell their development rights to other landowners, often to preserve their property from development while enabling increased density or development elsewhere. 30. Scenario. A Florida homeowner is facing foreclosure. What options are available to them under Florida law? A. Leave the property immediately. B. Negotiate a loan modification or short sale. C. Transfer the mortgage to another person. D. Pay a fine to prevent foreclosure. Answer. B. Negotiate a loan modification or short sale. Explanation. Florida homeowners facing foreclosure have several options, including negotiating a loan modification with their lender to make payments more manageable or arranging a short sale to sell the property for less than the mortgage balance. 31. Explain dual agency in Florida real estate and the legal requirements surrounding it. A. Representing both buyer and seller in the same transaction. B. Working for two different real estate agencies simultaneously. C. Selling two properties to the same buyer. D. Having a real estate license in two states. Answer. A. Representing both buyer and seller in the same transaction. Explanation. Dual agency occurs when a real estate agent represents both the buyer and the seller in the same transaction. In Florida, this practice is subject to strict legal requirements, including full disclosure and informed consent from both parties. 32. In Florida, what are the requirements for a legal real estate advertisement? A. Must include the agent's personal contact information. B. No requirements as long as the property is accurately represented. C. Must clearly identify the name of the brokerage firm. D. All advertisements must be approved by the FRDC. Answer. C. Must clearly identify the name of the brokerage firm. Explanation. Legal requirements for real estate advertisements in Florida include the clear identification of the brokerage firm's name. This ensures transparency and accountability in advertising real estate services. 33. What is the purpose of the Florida Real Estate Recovery Fund? A. To cover damages from natural disasters. B. To compensate consumers harmed by wrongful acts of licensed real estate professionals. C. To fund real estate education programs. D. To assist in financing first-time homebuyers. Answer. B. To compensate consumers harmed by wrongful acts of licensed real estate professionals. Explanation. The Florida Real Estate Recovery Fund serves to compensate individuals who have suffered monetary damages due to the wrongful acts of licensed real estate professionals, providing a measure of protection for consumers. 34. Scenario. A property in Florida is sold with an undisclosed easement. How does this affect the new owner's rights? A. The easement is void after the sale. B. The new owner must honor the easement. C. The new owner can legally remove the easement. D. The sale is automatically nullified. Answer. B. The new owner must honor the easement. Explanation. When a property is sold with an undisclosed easement, the new owner is still legally bound to honor it. Easements are attached to the property, not the owner, and remain in effect despite changes in ownership. 35. What does amortization mean in the context of a real estate mortgage in Florida? A. The process of increasing property value. B. The division of property into shares. C. The gradual reduction of a loan balance through payments. D. The assessment of property for tax purposes. Answer: C. The gradual reduction of a loan balance through payments. Explanation: amortization in the context of a real estate mortgage refers to the gradual reduction of the loan balance over time through regular payments. Each payment includes a portion that goes toward both the principal amount and the interest. 36. Define market value and its importance in real estate appraisals in Florida. A. The highest price a property can fetch in the market. B. The average price of similar properties in the area. C. The price set by the real estate agent. D. The most probable price a property would bring in a competitive market. Answer: D. The most probable price a property would bring in a competitive market. Explanation: market value is defined as the most probable price a property would bring in a fair and competitive market based on its features, location, and condition. It is a critical concept in real estate appraisals for determining a fair and realistic price for a property. 37. What is the legal concept of agency disclosure in Florida real estate transactions? A. Disclosing the property's legal status to potential buyers. B. Revealing the real estate agent's commission rates. C. Informing parties about the agent's representation relationship. D. Announcing any dual agency arrangements. Answer: C. Informing parties about the agent's representation relationship. Explanation: agency disclosure in Florida real estate transactions involves informing all parties about the nature of the agent's representation relationship, whether they are representing the buyer, the seller, or both. This ensures transparency and helps avoid conflicts of interest. 38. Scenario: a real estate agent in Florida is representing a client who is buying a property in a homeowners association, HOA. Community: what disclosures are required? A. Only the property's price and size. B. The rules, fees, and regulations of the HOA. C. The agent's personal opinion about the HOA. D. The financial status of all HOA members. Answer: B. The rules, fees, and regulations of the HOA. Explanation: when buying a property in an HOA community, it's essential for the real estate agent to disclose the HOA's rules, fees, and regulations to the client. This information is crucial for understanding the conditions and obligations of living in the HOA community. 39. In Florida, what is the legal definition of a real estate brokerage? A. Any business that deals with property management. B. A company that only sells commercial properties. C. A business entity that performs real estate services for others. D. An individual offering real estate advice. Answer: C. A business entity that performs real estate services for others. Explanation: a real estate brokerage in Florida is legally defined as a business entity that performs real estate services for others, including buying, selling, renting, advertising, and managing real estate properties. 40. Explain the concept of constructive eviction in Florida real estate law. A. Evicting a tenant for property construction purposes. B. A legal process to remove non-paying tenants. C. When conditions force a tenant to leave without formal eviction. D. Constructing new properties on evicted land. Answer: C. When conditions force a tenant to leave without formal eviction. Explanation: constructive eviction occurs when living conditions in a rental property become so poor or hazardous that the tenant is forced to leave without a formal eviction process. In such cases, the tenant may have legal grounds to break their lease without penalty. 41. What are greenbelt laws in Florida, and how do they affect real estate taxation? A. Laws regulating commercial development in rural areas. B. Tax incentives for environmentally friendly construction. C. Laws providing tax relief for agricultural land preservation. D. Regulations for building in coastal areas. Answer C. Laws providing tax relief for agricultural land preservation. Explanation. Grainbelt laws in Florida offer property tax relief for landowners who use their land for agricultural purposes, helping to preserve green spaces and prevent urban sprawl by making it financially advantageous to maintain agricultural land. 42. Describe the legal framework governing mobile homes in Florida real estate. A. Treated the same as traditional homes in all aspects. B. No specific laws, governed by standard property laws. C. Special zoning and ownership rules apply. D. Governed solely by federal regulations. Answer C. Special zoning and ownership rules apply. Explanation. Mobile homes in Florida are subject to specific legal considerations, including unique zoning requirements and rules regarding ownership and placement. These regulations ensure safe and appropriate use of mobile homes as residential spaces. 43. Scenario. A buyer in Florida purchases a property adjacent to a navigable waterway. What rights and restrictions apply regarding the waterway? A. Unlimited access and use of the waterway. B. Rights subject to state and federal regulations. C. No special rights or restrictions apply. D. Exclusive ownership of the waterway portion adjacent to the property. Answer B. Rights subject to state and federal regulations. Explanation. Owning property adjacent to a navigable waterway in Florida grants certain rights, like access to the water, but these are subject to state and federal regulations, including environmental protections and public access rights. 44. In Florida, explain the legal distinction between real property and personal property. A. Real property is immovable. Personal property is movable. B. No legal distinction in Florida. C. Real property includes vehicles. Personal property does not. D. Personal property is always leased. Real property is owned. Answer A. Real property is immovable. Personal property is movable. Explanation. The legal distinction between real and personal property in Florida is that real property, real estate, includes land and anything permanently attached to it, whereas personal property is movable and not permanently affixed to the land. 45. What are the implications of the Florida Fair Housing Act for real estate professionals? A. Restrictions on the types of properties they can sell. B. Mandatory quotas for property sales. C. Obligation to adhere to anti-discrimination practices. D. Increased licensing requirements. Answer C. Obligation to adhere to anti-discrimination practices. Explanation. The Florida Fair Housing Act requires real estate professionals to adhere to anti-discrimination practices in their business dealings, prohibiting discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status in housing-related activities. 46. Define timeshare and its regulation under Florida law. A. Renting a property for a specific time each year. B. Owning a property for a designated period annually. C. A lease agreement with multiple tenants. D. A government-regulated rental system. Answer B. Owning a property for a designated period annually. Explanation. A timeshare in Florida refers to owning a property or a portion of a property for use during a designated period each year, typically in a vacation or resort setting. Timeshare sales and management are regulated under Florida law to protect consumers. 47. In Florida, what are the legal requirements for a property disclosure statement? A. Disclosure of all known defects and issues. B. Only required for properties over 50 years old. C. No legal requirements for disclosure. D. Disclosure of property age and size only. Answer. A. Disclosure of all known defects and issues. Explanation. Florida law requires sellers to provide a property disclosure statement that includes all known defects and issues with the property. This is essential for ensuring that buyers are fully informed about the property's condition before purchase. 48 scenario. A commercial property in Florida is subject to an environmental cleanup order. What are the implications for the current owner and potential buyers? A. The property cannot be sold until cleanup is complete. B. Cleanup costs are the responsibility of the previous owner. C. Financial and legal responsibilities for environmental cleanup. D. Cleanup is optional, depending on the type of contamination. Answer. C. Financial and legal responsibilities for environmental cleanup. Explanation. If a commercial property in Florida is subject to an environmental cleanup order, both the current owner and potential buyers need to be aware of the financial and legal responsibilities associated with the cleanup, as it can impact the property's value and usability. 49. Explain the concept of bulk sales in Florida real estate transactions. A. Selling multiple properties in a single transaction. B. Large-scale commercial property sales. C. Discounted sales of properties in bulk. D. Any sale over a certain financial threshold. Answer. A. Selling multiple properties in a single transaction. Explanation. Bulk sales in real estate refer to transactions where multiple properties, often part of a portfolio, are sold in a single transaction. This can be common in investment and commercial real estate dealings. 50. What does right of first refusal mean in a Florida real estate context? A. The seller must accept the first offer received. B. The first person to view a property has priority to buy it. C. A tenant's right to purchase the property before it is offered to others. D. Buyers must be Florida residents. Answer. C. A tenant's right to purchase the property before it is offered to others. Explanation. The right of first refusal in a real estate context often applies to tenants, giving them the opportunity to purchase the property they are leasing before the owner can offer it to other potential buyers. 51. Scenario. A Florida homeowner discovers their property is zoned differently than originally believed. How does this affect their use of the property? A. They must adhere to the current zoning regulations. B. They can ignore zoning and use the property as intended. C. They are exempt from zoning laws for 1 year. D. Zoning does not affect property use in Florida. Answer. A. They must adhere to the current zoning regulations. Explanation. Discovering a different zoning classification means the homeowner in Florida must adhere to the current zoning regulations. These regulations dictate permissible uses of the property, and the homeowner must comply or seek a zoning change. 52. In Florida, describe the process and importance of real estate closing. A. A formal meeting to discuss property maintenance. B. The final step in a real estate transaction where ownership is transferred. C. An annual assessment of property taxes. D. The process of setting a property's listing price. Answer. B. The final step in a real estate transaction where ownership is transferred. Explanation. Real estate closing in Florida is the final and crucial step in a property transaction where ownership is officially transferred from the seller to the buyer, and all financial and legal aspects are finalized. 53. What is zoning variance in Florida, and under what circumstances might it be granted? A. A change in property taxes based on zoning. B. Permission to use land in a way that deviates from zoning regulations. C. Standard revaluation of zoning laws. D. A variance in commission rates for real estate agents. Answer. B. Permission to use land in a way that deviates from zoning regulations. Explanation. A zoning variance in Florida allows a property owner to use their land in a manner that deviates from the specific requirements of the zoning ordinance. It's granted under circumstances where strict enforcement would cause unnecessary hardship. 54. What is title seasoning in Florida real estate, and why is it important? A. The process of verifying a property's legal ownership history. B. A period after purchasing a property before it can be sold again. C. Renovating a property before selling. D. The annual assessment of a property's title. Answer: B. A period after purchasing a property before it can be sold again. Explanation: title seasoning refers to the period a person must own a property before selling it again. In Florida, this concept is important for preventing fraudulent property flipping and ensuring stability in the real estate market. 55. Define construction line in the context of Florida real estate. A. A line for unpaid property taxes during construction. B. A legal claim against a property by a contractor for unpaid work. C. Mandatory insurance during property construction. D. A permit required for new construction. Answer: B. A legal claim against a property by a contractor for unpaid work. Explanation: a construction line in Florida is a legal claim filed by contractors, subcontractors, or suppliers against a property where they have provided labor or materials but have not been paid. It secures their right to be compensated. 56. Scenario: a Florida homeowner wants to rent out their property seasonally. What are the legal considerations and requirements under Florida law? A. No special considerations. Standard rental laws apply. B. Obtaining a short-term rental license and adhering to local regulations. C. Paying additional property taxes for rental use. D. Mandatory property inspections by the state. Answer: B. Obtaining a short-term rental license and adhering to local regulations. Explanation: renting out a property seasonally in Florida often requires obtaining a short-term rental license and adhering to specific local regulations and ordinances, which may include zoning laws and tourist tax collection. 57. In Florida, explain the concept of homestead exemption in property taxation. A. Exemption from all property taxes for primary residences. B. A fixed reduction in property taxes for all homeowners. C. A reduction in property taxes for primary residences. D. Tax exemption for properties over 50 years old. Answer: C. A reduction in property taxes for primary residences. Explanation: the homestead exemption in Florida provides a reduction in property taxes for the owner's primary residence, reducing the taxable value of the home and, consequently, the amount of property taxes owed. 58. Describe the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, and its relevance to Florida real estate. A. A program offering flood insurance to all Florida residents. B. Mandatory flood insurance for properties in flood-prone areas. C. A state-run program providing flood damage compensation. D. Federal program offering flood insurance in participating communities. Answer: D. Federal program offering flood insurance in participating communities. Explanation: the NFIP is a federal program that provides flood insurance to property owners in participating communities, which is particularly relevant in Florida due to its susceptibility to flooding. It helps protect homeowners from the financial impact of flood damage. 59. Scenario: a real estate agent in Florida fails to disclose a conflict of interest. What are the possible legal and ethical consequences? A. Loss of commission on the sale. B. Mandatory disclosure in future transactions. C. Disciplinary action, including license suspension or revocation. D. No consequences if the transaction is successful. Answer: C. Disciplinary action, including license suspension or revocation. Explanation: failing to disclose a conflict of interest can lead to serious legal and ethical consequences for a real estate agent in Florida, including disciplinary actions by the FRDC, such as fines, license suspension, or revocation. 60. What is the purpose of the Florida landlord-tenant law? A. To regulate property prices in Florida. B. To outline the legal rights and responsibilities of landlords and tenants. C. To provide tax benefits to landlords. D. To standardize rental prices across the state. Answer B. To outline the legal rights and responsibilities of landlords and tenants. Explanation. The Florida Landlord-Tenant Law exists to outline the legal rights and responsibilities of both landlords and tenants, covering aspects such as lease agreements, rent, maintenance, and eviction processes, ensuring fair treatment and understanding for both parties. 61. In Florida, explain the process and implications of property tax reassessment. A. Reassessment occurs only when a property is sold. B. An annual evaluation to adjust property tax based on current market values. C. A process triggered by property renovations. D. A fixed increase in property tax every year. Answer B. An annual evaluation to adjust property tax based on current market values. Explanation. Property tax reassessment in Florida is an annual process where properties are evaluated to determine their current market value, which then influences the amount of property tax owed. This ensures that taxes reflect changes in the property market. 62. Scenario. A property in Florida is found to have historical significance. What impact does this have on the owner's rights and responsibilities? A. The owner can apply for historical grants. B. There are restrictions on alterations and usage. C. The property is exempt from property taxes. D. The owner must open the property to the public. Answer B. There are restrictions on alterations and usage. Explanation. Owning a historically significant property in Florida often comes with restrictions on alterations, renovations, and usage to preserve its historical integrity. Owners may need to obtain special permissions for changes. 63. Define wetlands in the Florida real estate context and discuss their importance in property development. A. Areas suitable for water-based sports. B. Land primarily covered by water, significant for environmental protection. C. Properties with poor drainage. D. Beachfront properties. Answer B. Land primarily covered by water, significant for environmental protection. Explanation. Wetlands in Florida are areas where water covers the soil or is near the surface, making them ecologically significant. Their presence on a property can impact development due to environmental protection laws and regulations. 64. What is a comparative market analysis, CMA, and how is it used in Florida real estate? A. A financial analysis for mortgage applications. B. A report comparing property taxes in different regions. C. An assessment of property value based on similar, recently sold properties. D. A survey of potential buyers' preferences. Answer C. An assessment of property value based on similar, recently sold properties. Explanation. A CDMA in Florida real estate is used to estimate a property's value by comparing it to similar properties that have recently sold in the area. It helps in setting a competitive and fair price for a property on the market. 65. Scenario. A buyer in Florida purchases a property only to discover significant undisclosed defects after closing. What recourse does the buyer have? A. The buyer can return the property. B. Legal action against the seller for non-disclosure. C. Request a refund from the real estate agent. D. No recourse. The sale is final. Answer B. Legal action against the seller for non-disclosure. Explanation. In Florida, if significant undisclosed defects are discovered after the purchase, the buyer may have legal recourse against the seller. Sellers are obligated to disclose known defects that materially affect the property's value. 66. Explain dual agency in Florida real estate and the legal requirements surrounding it. A. Representing buyer and seller in the same transaction with consent. B. Working for two different real estate agencies. C. managing both rental and sale properties. D. Selling properties in two different states. Answer: A. Representing buyer and seller in the same transaction with consent. Explanation: dual agency in Florida real estate occurs when an agent represents both the buyer and the seller in the same transaction. It is legally permissible only with full disclosure and informed consent from both parties. 67. In Florida, what are the requirements for a legal real estate advertisement? A. Approval from the FREC. B. Listing the agent's personal contact information. C. Clearly identifying the name of the brokerage firm. D. Including the property's appraisal value. Answer: C. Clearly identifying the name of the brokerage firm. Explanation: legal requirements for real estate advertisements in Florida include the clear and conspicuous identification of the brokerage firm's name. This ensures transparency and accountability in the advertisement of real estate services. 68. Scenario: a real estate transaction in Florida is found to involve fraudulent misrepresentation. What are the consequences for the parties involved? A. Mandatory arbitration. B. The transaction is automatically voided. C. Potential legal action and damages. D. A warning issued by the FRDC. Answer: C. Potential legal action and damages. Explanation: if a real estate transaction in Florida involves fraudulent misrepresentation, the parties involved may face legal consequences, including potential lawsuits and damages. The aggrieved party may seek compensation for any harm caused by the misrepresentation. 69. Define coastal construction control line and its significance in Florida property development. A. A boundary for beachfront property ownership. B. A guideline for commercial property construction. C. A line delineating areas subject to special construction regulations. D. The maximum distance from the coast where building is allowed. Answer: C. A line delineating areas subject to special construction regulations. Explanation: the coastal construction control line in Florida marks areas where special regulations apply to construction activities to protect beaches and coastal areas from erosion and environmental impact. 70. What are special zoning districts in Florida, and how do they affect property use and development? A. Districts with no zoning regulations. B. Areas designated for commercial development only. C. Regions with unique zoning rules based on specific needs or characteristics. D. Districts reserved for government use. Answer: C. Regions with unique zoning rules based on specific needs or characteristics. Explanation: special zoning districts in Florida are areas with unique zoning rules that reflect their specific characteristics or needs, such as historical districts or conservation areas. These rules can affect property use, development, and preservation within the district. 71. Scenario: a tenant in Florida breaches their rental agreement. What are the landlord's rights and the tenant's liabilities in this case? A. The landlord can immediately evict the tenant without notice. B. The tenant is liable for remaining rent and potential legal action. C. The landlord must find a new tenant immediately. D. No liabilities for the tenant. The landlord assumes all responsibilities. Answer: B. The tenant is liable for remaining rent and potential legal action. Explanation: if a tenant in Florida breaches their rental agreement, the landlord may have the right to take legal action, and the tenant could be liable for any remaining rent owed under the lease terms, as well as potential damages. 72. In Florida, explain the significance of Mandatory Homeowners Association, HOA. Membership in certain communities. A. It's a voluntary choice for homeowners. B. Homeowners must join the HOA and comply with its rules and fees. C. Only applies to condominiums and townhouses. D. HOA membership is only for social events. Answer: B. Homeowners must join the HOA and comply with its rules and fees. Explanation: in some Florida communities, homeowners are required to become members of the HOA and are subject to its rules, regulations, and fees. This mandatory membership ensures consistent management and maintenance of common areas and amenities. 73. Describe the legal concept of agency disclosure in Florida real estate transactions. A. Revealing the commission rates to clients. B. Disclosing the agent's personal investment in the property. C. Informing parties about the nature of the agent's representation. D. Announcing any past legal issues of the agency. Answer: C. Informing parties about the nature of the agent's representation. Explanation: agency disclosure in Florida real estate transactions involves informing all involved parties about the nature and extent of the agent's representation, whether they are representing the buyer, the seller, or both. This disclosure is essential for transparency and avoiding conflicts of interest. 74. Scenario: a buyer in Florida is interested in a home, but the neighborhood is under a homeowners association, HOA. What should the buyer be aware of? A. The HOA can increase property taxes. B. Mandatory HOA fees and community rules. C. The HOA controls property prices. D. HOA approval is required for purchase. Answer: B. Mandatory HOA fees and community rules. Explanation: buyers considering a home in an HOA-governed neighborhood in Florida should be aware of mandatory HOA fees and the community rules and regulations they will be subject to. These can include restrictions on property modifications, pet policies, and other community standards. 75. Explain the importance of due diligence in Florida real estate and what it typically involves. A. Verifying the legality of the real estate agent. B. Checking the property's compliance with building codes. C. Thorough investigation of a property before purchase. D. Ensuring the property is in a good neighborhood. Answer: C. Thorough investigation of a property before purchase. Explanation: due diligence in Florida real estate involves a thorough investigation and evaluation of a property before completing a purchase. This includes conducting inspections, reviewing title reports, checking for liens or encumbrances, and ensuring compliance with local laws. 76. What is the role of the closing statement in a Florida real estate transaction? A. Outlining the terms of the mortgage. B. Detailing the final financial transactions and agreements. C. Stating the closing date and time. D. Announcing the completion of the sale. Answer: B. Detailing the final financial transactions and agreements. Explanation: the closing statement in a Florida real estate transaction is a detailed document that outlines all the financial transactions and agreements made at closing, including the sales price, loan amounts, closing costs, and other financial details. 77. Scenario: an individual inherits a property in Florida that is subject to a lease. What are the implications for the new owner regarding the existing lease? A. The lease is automatically terminated. B. The new owner must renegotiate the lease terms. C. The new owner is bound by the terms of the existing lease. D. The new owner can immediately evict the tenant. Answer: C. The new owner is bound by the terms of the existing lease. Explanation: when a property in Florida is inherited and subject to an existing lease, the new owner becomes the landlord and is bound by the terms of that lease. The lease remains in effect, and the new owner must adhere to its conditions. 78. Describe the process of foreclosure in the context of Florida real estate. A. A quick sale of property to cover unpaid taxes. B. Voluntary transfer of property to avoid mortgage payments. C. The legal process where a lender takes possession of a property due to unpaid mortgage. D. Renegotiating a mortgage to avoid losing the property. Answer: C. The legal process where a lender takes possession of a property due to unpaid mortgage. Explanation. Foreclosure in Florida is a legal process where a lender takes possession of and sells a property because the homeowner has failed to make the required mortgage payments. This process is used to recover the balance of the loan. 79. In Florida real estate law, what distinguishes a joint tenancy from a tenancy in common? A. Joint tenancy is only for commercial properties. B. Tenancy in common allows unequal ownership shares. C. Joint tenancy requires family relations. D. Tenancy in common does not allow property sale. Answer. B. Tenancy in common allows unequal ownership shares. Explanation. The primary distinction between joint tenancy and tenancy in common in Florida real estate law is that in tenancy in common, each owner can have an unequal share in the property. Additionally, joint tenancy includes the right of survivorship, whereas tenancy in common does not. 80. What are the key aspects of the Florida Real Estate Recovery Fund? A. Provides funding for real estate development projects. B. Compensates victims of fraudulent real estate practices. C. Assists real estate agents in legal disputes. D. Offers loans to first-time homebuyers. Answer. B. Compensates victims of fraudulent real estate practices. Explanation. The Florida Real Estate Recovery Fund is designed to provide financial compensation to individuals who have suffered monetary losses due to the fraudulent or wrongful acts of licensed real estate professionals. It offers a form of recourse for victims of unethical practices.